Jim Harbaugh not going to the Broncos. Jim Harbaugh not going to be coaching on Sundays unless there's a weather situation with a Michigan game that postpones the game 24 hours. He's staying in Ann Arbor. Now, in just a second, I'm going to show you a couple of statements. But before we talk about that, obviously this is huge for Michigan. Now, aside from just on the surface keeping your head coach being a big deal, they are obviously cruising at an altitude they haven't cruised at under him. I mean, they're very, very lofty right now. 25-3 over the past 2 years, a couple of Big Ten championships in a row. Remember, wasn't too long ago. I mean, it was 30 months ago maybe, where you thought you would never win one up there, much less two, or certainly maybe outside of the fan base, outsiders thought, oh, he's never going to get it done. Well, he got it done. Then he got it done again. Well, they're never going to go to the playoff. Well, he got it done. Then he got it done again. Now, there's a group out there that thinks if you don't win the national championship, you're a failure. And so that group probably still not impressed with Jim Harbaugh. Outside of that group, I would call that maybe like a fringe minority over there. They're on the far side of the spectrum. I'm not hating on you. I'm just saying you got to be a little more realistic with your expectations. Outside of that, I think people realize Jim Harbaugh's done a great job up there. Is the flirtation done? That's the question that a lot of people are asking, and I think that in some ways can't be answered by anyone but Jim Harbaugh himself. But number two, I think it has a lot to do with how his new contract is structured. Keep that in mind. Those of you who are Michigan fans know where I'm about to go. Those of you who are Texas Tech fans probably haven't been following this all that close. You know there were rumors of Harbaugh in the NFL, and now he didn't go, and he's coming back, and he's coming back because of the graphic we're about to show you. This got released yesterday. If you were kind of out of touch and you just rely on the show to fill you in, thank you, and we will fill you in. Jim Harbaugh put out a statement yesterday, because that's how you announce such things these days. You put something that looks strikingly similar to a Pokemon card on Twitter, and Jim Harbaugh's statement said, I love the relationships I have in Michigan. Coaches, staff, families, administration. Pay attention here. President Santa Ono, and especially the players and their families. My heart is at the University of Michigan. I once heard a wise man say, don't try to out happy. Go blue. And then President Santa, as I call him, President Santa put out a statement as well. It's not what was said there. It's what wasn't said. It's not the names who were mentioned. It's not the coaches. It's not the staff and the families and the admin. It's not the president. Does anyone who understands the structure of a college athletic department, does anyone notice peculiarly a name left out there? Ward Manuel, maybe? I don't know, the athletic director at Michigan. Now, if you follow the day-to-day around this program, you've known it doesn't seem like there's been a whole lot of love lost between those two parties. It's felt sort of icy and chilly for a little while between those two, but thus far, that had remained sort of inside Michigan circles. I hadn't even spoken about it on this show because I didn't really think it was mainstream enough to talk about. But to quote Hulk Hogan, brother, when you put that out there, that's meant for the world to see. That's meant for you to read between the lines. And certainly, if not the casual fan, the more informed fan and industry people are meant to look at that and say, not, oh, good for Jim. It's meant to look at and say, where in the world's Ward Manuel? Did he quit? Did Ward Manuel retire? He's still there, right? Let me check. Type. Yeah, Wikipedia says he's still there. Well, he's certainly not on Harbaugh's Pokemon card or Santa's Pokemon card. Out of context, late kick. So what's happening up there? I think a certain amount of that is a behind-the-curtain situation. But the other part is, moving forward, the guy's got to have a new contract. And I think they're actively working on a new contract up there. That's not any breaking news, but why do they have to work on a new contract? This is where you got to check yourself back in a little bit, because you may know some things about Michigan that you just forgot, because maybe you're not a Michigan fan. So if I were to jog your memory, you probably remember Harbaugh almost left before, but even before that, they were underachieving. And it looked like he may be fired. Wasn't that long ago? There was a movement to fire Jim Harbaugh. We raised the mic a little bit so I can hide behind it. He's almost got fired. And he instead accepted a restructured contract. And restructured is a vague term. How much did he restructure himself voluntarily? Well, he is the 6th highest paid coach in the Big Ten Conference right now. And for a guy that's won the conference back-to-back years and a guy who's been in the playoffs back-to-back years, I think it stands to reason he will not be the 6th highest paid coach in his conference very long. How highly will he be paid? And then the follow-up from people like me who are watching this from the outside is, what kind of conditions are going to be placed in that contract. Now, I have a hunch that is merely observational, but my hunch is certain people, Ward Manuel probably included, have gotten pretty tired of watching Jim Harbaugh flirt with the NFL every year. I say every year. It's happened 2 years, but it feels like it's become a constant now. And if you don't restructure a deal to guard against that, it may always be a constant because it's obvious the guy wants to coach on Sundays. I don't fault him for that. I'm just saying if I'm an innocent bystander, it's not my business. If I'm the athletic director of the University of Michigan, if I'm a fan even, especially if I give my time and my money to that program, it is my business. And so I want to take countermeasures against that. I don't mind paying him. We already paid him once. I don't mind us paying him again, especially on the back end of him delivering results for us. But you know what I want? I want some assurances on my end. And it's not merely going to be him looking me in the eye and telling me, I'm not going to the NFL. I want a pretty big buyout built into that deal. And there is some speculation out there that I don't think is too far off base that maybe the hang-up with the contract has been that they want to put an inordinately high buyout in his new deal in exchange for paying him all this money. And on the streets, that would sound something like this. You want us to invest fully in you? Then invest fully in us. You want us to pay you top dollar? Then agree to this. If you're really not going to leave, it doesn't matter how big the buyout is, $10 or $10 million. But we don't want to have to look over our shoulder constantly for the Panthers or the Vikings, the Broncos. That could be the hang-up there. We'll see. But you know what it does sound like? It sounds like management has been worked around. Jesse, Colin, should we try this? Should I work around management and just go straight to the president? Let's workshop this off air. But that's essentially what Jim Harbaugh did. You know, Jim Harbaugh's got someone he's supposed to answer to if you look at the flow chart at Michigan, and instead he put out a Pokemon card graphic in which he never even so much as mentioned that superior on the flow chart, and instead he mentioned the guy at the very, very top of the food chain, who is new, by the way. That's a new president up there, and you know how cool it makes you feel? Number one, if your name is Santa, and number two, if the head coach is shouting you out instead of his direct superior. Santa Ono's gotten a lot of points up there. Oh, it didn't help, or it didn't hurt his cause, that he took a little swipe at Adam Schefter. I saw that. I thought that was pretty shrewd. So, a lot going on. And you know what else is going on? Michigan has the 1, 2, 3, 4. They got the fifth best odds to win the 2023 national championship, which will be played in 24, but you get the point. Jesse tells me, and Jesse, get in my ear and tell me if I'm wrong, because it's been 3 hours since we had this convo. Jesse tells me of all like the top 15 odds to win the national title, Michigan is the only one who moved up. In other words, Michigan's the only one that either some money came in on or Vegas looked at and said, ooh, we need to adjust that a little bit. We're not going to give you quite as big a payout if you bet Michigan and they win. I hear silence in my ear. I will take that as a complicit endorsement that what I just said is accurate. They've done good in the portal. They've done very good in development. I think the big question now is, since there's some certainty, a little bit of stability for the time being at head coach, and you put that Pokemon card graphic in front of recruits and say, look, he says he's coming back. How are we going to do there? They're currently 17th. Their signing class right now, 17th. And that would be the lowest finish since the 2018 cycle if it were to turn out that way. The second signing day is still little less than half a month away or so. So we'll see how that turns out. But now that there's some stability, we'll see how that works. They have the 9th. I thought I just saw the 9th highest ranked class in the portal right now. But look, they've got a ton of experience coming back next year. So it's not like they're depleted or anything to the point where they're desperate for true freshmen to come in and save them. No, they got a lot of horses coming back. They'll be very, very good this upcoming year. So it looks like they're primed for yet another run. Ohio State has to come to them. And now we know who the head coach there is going to be. This was what was going to interest me. Like, sometimes you see jobs come open, and it's because the other guy's done a really poor job. Well, if this job were to have come open, what a golden opportunity for someone to parachute in there if they kept the talent on campus. McCarthy back at quarterback, Corum back at running back. You've got a really, really good roster already outside of the household name brand type guys. Someone was going to be able to win immediately if you hired the right guy. So that's a moot point. That's not going to happen. Jim Harbaugh stays. And, for those who follow on social, I put out a similar statement about the statement yesterday. at Late Kick Josh if you are interested.
Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.